I think last time I showed myself on camera it looked quite badly, but I got a new camera, so I thought I'll try again. Anyway, in this video I will build a new magnetron. Last video I tried building one and I failed, and let's see if it works this time. Alright, so far this is the anode and that's done. The vacuum feed through has a few bubbles in there, but this should be fine. The bubbles are not on the tungsten itself, and this should be fine. So that's the anode. I'm not going to go over a lot of details on how I'm building this because I covered this in the last video, and if you want to see that, I'm going to link it or link it in the description. But yeah, I also made the vacuum feed through for the cathode, and I had a few problems with the vacuum seals having some bubbles in there, but this is mostly fine on this seal. There are a few bubbles at the bottom there, but the seal mostly is bubble free, so this should be vacuum tight as well. And just like that, I have all the electrodes spot welded on there. This time I have the tungsten filament not as a coiled wire, not as a coiled wire, and that's because I want to coat this in barium, and I'm just going to leave this as a straight piece of wire that's easier to coat. This coiled filament right here, that's the titanium getter, and I can just coil this to have a longer wire and more surface area to absorb all the impurities and oxygen and stuff like that. Alright, now to the filament coating. I tried it in the past, and the filament needs to be coated with barium, strontium and calcium. The best is a mixture of the three of them, but right now I only have some barium, and I tried this, and the problem is it doesn't stick to the filament really well. To solve this, I have here some nitrocellulose, and this stuff will act as a binder, and I'm going to dissolve some of it in some acetone, and I will add barium carbonate, and this should provide a good filament coating. The nitrocellulose will decompose when heated, so we only have the barium left on the filament. This method was used in vacuum tubes in the early days, and I could not find a definitive recipe, so I'm just going to have to mix some of this up and see how well this works. Alright, I'm jumping forward a bit because I did a bunch of stuff already. I made the tube, welded the anode in there, and now I have to insert the cathode. And I have here the cathode coating that I talked about earlier. I'm not sure if the composition is correct. I just put in some acetone, dissolved some of the nitrocellulose, and put a bunch of the barium carbonate in there. And not sure if this is going to work. Put a bit on there. And then I need to put this in here, and I need to align both of these so they're not touching. Unfortunately, due to the melting of the glass here, the distance is not quite exactly, and I have a little bit of a gap here. So I need to hold this here somehow, put a bit of glass in there, weld this so it stays in place, and then I can weld this shut, and hopefully this works because it's probably a bit tricky, but let's see. Alright, the tube is finally done. I have some concerns. First of all, I think you can see it on camera. The tube itself is a bit brown. I have no idea what that is, so that's a bit concerning. Also, the glass has some scratches on there, but I knew this from the beginning and just thought, oh well, the glass is pretty thick. but I hope this is not going to cause this to implode. And the last thing is the electrodes are very close together, so I'm probably not going to be able to put a huge amount of voltage on there. But either way, it's time to put it on the vacuum pump and see if it even holds vacuum. God damn it, the filament burned out. I don't know why. I wasn't like putting a huge ton of current through there. It wasn't very hot, but it burned out. And I could cut this open right here with the Dremel, remove this and put in another filament. But I'm not sure if the vibration from that or whatever damaged the other seal. So I think I'm going to build another tube from scratch, just to be sure. Finally, I rebuilt everything and it's finally holding vacuum. But I have a few problems still. The first one you can probably see here on the glass. I have to heat up the filament very, very hot to only get 50 microamps of emission current, which is not enough. And because the filament is so hot, it will boil off and condense on the glass wall. And I think it's also causing arc over. In the tube before that, I talked about using some barium on there, but I did not do this on this tube because I did not want to add more complexity to this tube, and I left it out and just used the tungsten instead. And I'm not sure if this is a mistake or what, but I definitely need to experiment with the barium. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some simpler tubes like diodes, and I'm going to try out different coatings and coating methods and then see if I get better results, and then I can move to more complicated things like this magnetron. I think that's the better way to go forward with this, because I'm frankly very tired of building these things and then they're not working. So I'm going to do some other projects. I also have some other stuff planned. So for now, I'm going to continue with this, make some simpler tubes, test these coatings, and then maybe I'm going to get back to this. Additionally, the emission coatings will probably help a huge ton with the triode. I built one in one of the last videos and it sort of worked, but not quite well. So this would improve this a huge ton. So let's experiment with it, and then I can come back and build more triodes, more magnetrons, hopefully. All right, until next time, and bye.